sort of recalibrate and then, go about your routine of reloading for that week. And so that's, sort of going to be the same way here. We have an expectation that we want to reach our goals. And so when you have that approach, I think it's important where, I've been on teams before where, when you're, you know, looking to make it to the playoffs or you're happy to make a bowl game, then maybe you take your foot off the accelerator because you don't look at it from that lens. We do, and so I think that matters. Again, I think everything matters, but I think our guys have that approach and going through it last year and understanding that this thing's going all the way to the middle end of January is the way you have to look at it. But knowing that you lose one game, your season's over. So um, I think just that mindset is important.
Our next question is from Jeff Rabjones. Jeff, your mic is open.
Yeah, Coach, thanks for your time. You know this conference, you know college football history. When you see somebody like Kirk Cignetti do what he's done at a place that obviously has Indiana's history, your thoughts as a coach about the job he's done are what?
I think the first thing is he's adapted to um, modern times. He certainly has taken a roster and turned it over quickly and brought in some really talented players. So I think that's the first thing. I mean, it's about talent acquisition, and the way that we used to do that was just recruit and develop, and that takes time. He's been aggressive and he's been able to turn over his roster and bring in a lot of talent in a short period of time, which is really well done. And you can tell they're good evaluators of talent. And then when you watch them play, they're well coached. They have a plan on how they want to attack you in all three phases, and they're not going to beat themselves. So you combine all those things together, and you're looking at a program that has really made a lot of noise here in the last couple of years, um, and certainly have a lot of respect for what Coach Cignetti's done.
Our next question is from Brendan Gullick. Brendan, go ahead.
Hi, Ryan. Thanks for doing this. Two quick ones. One, how did Jeremiah and Carnell recover from yesterday's game? And as it relates to Fernando Mendoza, when you've watched him on tape, when he's at his best, what does it look like in your eyes?
Yeah, both of those guys, came out, you know, as good as could be expected. So that was great, and two gritty performances and gutsy performances, and they'll be excited to play in this one for sure. Um, yeah, I've watched Mendoza play in a lot of the crossover games. I've seen a little bit on just TV when maybe it's a Saturday game where we're playing a night game, they're playing a noon game, watching a little bit on the TV copies, but mostly in crossover games. One, he looks very intelligent in terms of his ability to identify, pre and post snap, scheme, makes those decisions as well. He's accurate, probably, I call it sneaky athletic, where, maybe you don't look at him as a dual threat, but he makes a lot of plays with his feet, can extend. And he looks like a great leader to me when I've listened to him speak. So, it'll be a really good challenge for our defense, for our team.
Our next question is from Dan Hope. Dan, go ahead. Dan? Dan, I
Sorry,
apologize.
I don't think if you, by the way, I just wanted to ask about, oh,
We
Yeah,
can, Dan.
yeah, the O-line you're asking about. And you watch our film, the O-line in this past game was as good as I've seen. The physicality, the way that they played, it was pretty amazing. I think there was 43 knockdowns between all five of them, which I've never heard of before. They just played their tail off. And so I'm just proud of the physicality, the mindset, and the confidence they played with in this past game. And they also
Next,
did a great job of protection. No sacks. Um, so they got to reload the clip, man. We got another big one this week.
our next question is from Bill Rabinowitz. Bill, go ahead.
Ryan, I understand that you got a long delay yesterday after the game. What was it? Were you on the tarmac? What was going on? How'd you spend however many hours it was? And did that affect anything in terms of getting today off to the start that you wanted to?
Yeah, no, yeah, we did get back later than we wanted to, but the plane had a delay getting in Ann Arbor. And then once we got there, we just had a little bit of an issue with the de-icing and then clearing the runway to take off. So yeah, we were delayed and got in, I think, closer to 11 or so. But I mean, it wasn't anything like 3 in the morning, but so similar to maybe playing a night game. But you know, the flip side of it was, everybody was on that plane, and the team was just, enjoying each other's company and laughing, um and so maybe they got to bed a little bit earlier. So that was good, I guess. In preparation, they came in today with a bunch of energy, so that was good. Um, our guys are pretty good. They don't just go run on the streets, but after last night's game, who knows what could have happened. So I guess it was a blessing in disguise.
Next question from Zach Osterman.
Ryan, I think you talked about this a little bit earlier, but we've asked Curt Cignetti about this on the IU side a little bit too. Just given how much the postseason has expanded between championship games and then obviously the playoff, when you've had the opportunity to sort of take snaps out of guys' legs in the regular season, like what has been the kind of the philosophy, the balance in terms of not wanting guys maybe to play too little, but being able to rest guys winning where you can, knowing that the season is just a lot more involved post December 1 now.
Yeah, for us, it was sort of in our style of play, just the number of snaps. I think our defense played 44 snaps again this week. So that was great. And I think, they've been fresh all season. We try to roll guys the best we can. I think that's important. And like you said, though, I mean, the games are increasing and the roster size is getting smaller. So that's not any good. So we have to figure out, how to do that and how to manage the workload the best we can. And there's a couple different ways to do that. I think it's important. Everybody has their own style, but we've sort of done that with our pace of play. And we try to control the game on offense.
Next question is from Adam King.
Ryan, you were here during the 4 straight Big Ten championship run where it felt like almost a given that you would raise that trophy in Indy. Now that you haven't been there in a few years, does it make this so much sweeter for you guys? I know it's a goal every year, but forgetting about the playoff, forgetting about the bye, just the idea of raising that trophy in Indy has been a goal for you guys for so long. Does it make it a little more special?
Well, it might have felt like a given to you, but it never felt like a given to me. I can tell you that. This conference is a good conference, and every year it gets better and better. And now the fact that there's 18 teams in it from coast to coast, it's harder and harder to win the conference. And so, yeah, I mean, we wanted to get to Indy. It's been too long, and yeah, it'll be important. I mean, it's an electric atmosphere. It's a great venue for it. We always get a great crowd who travels over. So, yeah, it'll be important. There's no question. It's been too long since we've been to Indy, and we want to win this thing.
Our next question is from Cameron Teague Robinson. Cameron, go ahead. All right, Cameron, we'll try to come back to you. Our next question in that case will come from Doug Lesmerisis.
Hey Ryan, you stated a couple times this Big Ten championship is a goal for you guys, but it is between your rivalry game and the college football playoff. I think some people have questioned what is the value of conference championship games in this day and age. As it relates to health of players or anything else, is there anything that would you would think about the balance of making sure you're healthy and rested and ready for the playoff versus going all out to win this thing no matter what?
I've said before that I think it's something that we need to consider just how it plays into the playoffs and what it means. I do think I think so. Um, but I think important for us right now is like we want to be the one seed going in to the playoffs, and that's what we're fighting for. So um, I do hear what you're saying, but I think it's also important to be the one seed. And so, here we are, and that's what we're going to be playing for here, and that's the focus. But I do think it's important for us to be thinking about how this game does affect the playoffs and making sure that um, it's in alignment and it makes sense. Because I think it's a big deal, and I think winning your conference is a big deal. You think about um, you know in other like in the basketball tournament, it's an automatic qualifier, which is great, but it should mean something, and and I think it does. So, but I do think if it's going to stay the way it is at 12, or if it's going to expand, we just need to make sure that it's all in alignment. And then, is there a situation where 3, 4, 5, and 6 in the conference also play during this weekend? I know that's something that has been thrown out before that I think makes sense. It's one more game for us to play. When you think about last year, we didn't play in this game, and then went on to win the national championship. So, but then, if you win it, you get a bye. So there's a lot to consider, but not really focused on that right now. More focused on winning the game and being the one seed.
Our next question is from Steve Hellwagon. Steve?
Yeah, Coach, if you can hear me, Indiana last year, somewhat of a novelty, and maybe the moment was too big for them when they played you guys at Ohio Stadium and you beat them by 3 touchdowns. This year, as your mentor, Urban would say, they have a belief or a testimony. They went to Oregon and beat, one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the country on their field. So they're no longer, they have that belief. Just what's your feeling about what they're going to bring to the table in that regard? And also, this was asked of Coach Cignetti. I'll ask you as well. Win or lose, do both of these teams playing Saturday deserve a first round bye for the playoff?
Yeah, I really haven't even been following that, but I did talk about it a little bit yesterday with Ross, just trying to get an idea. Like I don't even know who 3 was or 4 was, quite honestly, because it doesn't really matter to us. I was just so focused on winning that game last week. But when you look at it, yeah, I mean, they say that um, you're not supposed to be penalized for losing in the conference championship game. So you have the 1, 2 seed, and so I think yeah, both would deserve to get a first round bye. But I also think it matters when you're the 1 or the 3 or 4 because of who you play. So I think it's important to win this game and be the one seed. It's just going to help your chances. Everything matters, and so we want to make sure we win that. And then yeah, going back to what you said about Indiana, yeah, I mean this is a team now that has been winning at a high level for 2 years. So there'll be no moment too big for them. They'll be ready to go.
Coach, our next question comes from Stefan Kreisnik.
Hey Ryan, right before you got on here, we were speaking with Coach Cignetti, and he said that you're going to be remembered one day as one of the legends of college football. What's your reaction to hearing that from him, and what do you feel like he's added to the Big Ten since joining the conference?
Well, that's quite a compliment, but and I appreciate him saying that. I'm not too sure what to think of that. I don't got a lot of football to coach before any of those type of conversations. But I think the one thing about Coach Cignetti, one, he grew up in a football family, and I sort of you know have like a respect for the way he grew up when I watch my son RJ, and he's the son of a coach and everything that comes with that, and he just has a feel for the game. When you grow up around this profession, you understand what it's supposed to look like. You understand people, you understand situations, and that's the way he is, and that's the way he coaches. And you can see that based on how quickly, he's turned things around in Indiana, but also, he's won wherever he's been. I know people, laugh about, some of the comments he makes about Google him and all that, but it's true. And he's been around football his whole life, and it just makes sense to him. He's been around it, been around winning football, and you certainly, you see the guys on his staff, they stay with him for a long time. And that says a lot about your culture when your coaches want to be with you and stick with you. So, I got a lot of respect for him as well, and certainly, now. It's been great to, see him as a competitor in the conference in such a short period of time.
Our next question is from Kyle Babcock. Kyle?
Hey, Coach. This year's team is ranked number one, last year national champion. How similar, how different are these teams from last year to this year, but with the expectations being high?
It's a different team. I have some coaches and friends and folks who stop by preseason camp, and after the practice is over, I just get over and say, man, what do you think about this group? What do you see? They spend a day with me and then just give me some feedback on what they see. And it was interesting. Like several of them said, this team's going to be good. This team's going to be really good, but they're different. They're different than the team you had last year. And I listened to the first one and the second one, but by the time like a third person said that observation to me, I really gave it some thought. And I think it's a different group of guys, very businesslike. They're focused, they're mature. That was one of the things going into the season that I wasn't sure about this team, how mature they were. And man, they grew up fast, or maybe they were more mature than I thought they were when we came in. They're talented, they're tough, they're smart, and they care about each other. So it's a great group to be around. I'm grateful to be around these guys every day. I think we have a great coaching staff. They work well together. There's good chemistry there. But we talked about in our team meeting today, like, all right, regular season's over. Now it's time to go. And, I said last week we're playing for hardware, so we got our gold pants last week, and now we're looking to get the Big Ten, championship and then go on from there. So I think these guys understand that. And that's the other part about this team that I think is good because, they saw what happened last year. They saw the run that we went on. They saw what it takes. Some of those guys were a part of it. And now they want to be the first team to, win back-to-back national championships in Ohio State history. But the focus right now is putting ourselves in a situation to be the 1 seed by winning the Big Ten championship.
Got time for a couple more. Our next question is from Tony Gerdeman.
Ryan, with the scouting of Indiana, how far back have your QC guys started on Indiana? And I guess when did what time did your Sunday begin to start catching up on the Hoosiers?
Well, we had a little too much time on the plane last night, so we were able to get a little bit of a head start, more than I expected. We were able to kind of put the film to bed of yesterday, before we took off, and then started on these guys today. But we also were meeting with our players and going to keep the same routine. So this is going to be just like an away trip for us. And we need to get on the issue. The issues are still there. Getting on the film. A lot of guys graded out a champion. A lot of guys did their job at a high level, but the issues are still there. And as we continue to go down the road and the competition continues to increase and we find ourselves in these matchup games, the issues are going to come to the forefront if we don't get them fixed. So we're going to make sure that we do this the right way, continue to stay with the same format we've been on. But certainly our focus now is on Indiana.
Our next question is from Nick Hamilton. Nick, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Wanted to ask you just about Matt Patricia and how much you've seen him just really transform this defense to a top-notch defense, and be able to bring that ferociousness that you guys have had throughout the course of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear to anyone close to the program that he's done a great job early on of building relationship with the players, And as the season's gone on, it's only fortified itself more. He's a very likable guy who just has a great personality, cares about his players. He's very intelligent, meshes well with the staff. And that's one thing that was important to me because when Jim decided to go to Penn State, we had a defensive staff already intact. And these guys just came off of a national championship. And I felt like they were the best defensive coaching staff in the country. But we needed to bring in someone to work with them and work with our players. And Matt has turned out to be a great fit. And he's a pleasure to work with every day.
Next question is from Jeff Gilbert. Jeff?
Yeah, Coach. Coach Cignetti, when he talks about process, you talk about process a lot. Seems like he says a lot of I don't know exactly the same things, but the same ideas. What do you hear from him that you think is making him be able to revamp this beyond just getting players?
Well, I don't want to speak, on somebody else's program, but when I have listened to Coach Cignetti speak, you can tell that he has a system in place. And in that system, he knows what it's supposed to look like. And I think there's a belief within the program and a credibility of his competence as a coach that if you follow the plan, it's going to work. And his confidence really exudes from the system. That's what it looks like to me. Now, I don't know that, but it looks to me like, the preparation that they put in, they seem prepared. And when you're prepared, you have confidence. And then his players play like that. So again, that's just an observation. I'm not in there every day, but from afar, it's certainly easy to see that they do a great job of playing fast and with confidence. And I think that has a lot to do with how he coaches and how his staff coaches and the systems that they have in place.
All right, Coach, our last question today will come from Bill Landis. Bill, go ahead.
Hey, Ryan. When it comes to Matt Patricia, and the defense having to make some adjustments, just what is he like on the sideline, and what is your assessment of his communication with players and staff as they're trying to get things figured out on the fly during a game?
Elite. Elite. He loves having that iPad. They don't have that in the NFL. He's like, this is unbelievable. I get to watch the plays after each drive. So he's a happy dude. I think the thing is when things are going well, okay, we talk about that. But when things don't go well, or something hits, or there's a breakdown, an explosive play, whatever it might be, he has the answers why. And I think that is really important because when you don't have that, then there becomes a panic. And now guys start to not only are they confused, but they don't know what went wrong. And then they start to do something more like make a play and they jump out of a gap and then things can spiral.